I'm going to talk a little bit more about senior level roles in an organization. Everybody in an organization has some part in their strategic plan. Now, it may not be everybody in the entire organization has everything to do with every goal. That's not the scenario. But it is the case for the senior leaders. They are all responsible for the goals. They're directly responsible. Now, some may have more accountability than others, but they're all responsible, meaning that there's no, well, that's your goal. I'll take care of mine. You take care of yours. The organization's strategic goals at the highest level, they all are accountable. And this is why some people lose their jobs, because they don't do their fair share. So when I relate to the senior leaders of an organization, I first relate to the most senior leader. So whether it be a president of a company or a CEO of a company, it doesn't matter. The senior leader is the one person where the buck stops, as we might say, that they are totally responsible and accountable for all the work that happens in an organization. Now, in a publicly traded company, a CEO is responsible to the board of directors. Now, there may be a board of directors. These are people who are assigned and volunteer and work as the overall authority, providing the guidance for the organization to operate within. They are the direct report for the CEO. It's not uncommon that a board of directors will have 3, 5, or 7, maybe even 9 people on, depending on the size of the organization and the conglomerate that it has. Where I've worked, we had 5 people on the board of directors, but there was a director responsible for the other directors. So there's always one person in charge. Now, this person would be overall accountable for publishing anything that the board members come up with collectively. Once that information is given to the CEO, then the CEO is totally responsible for everything. Good, bad, or indifferent. Doesn't matter whether they had anything to do with it or not. If somebody gets hurt or killed under their employment, they're responsible. They are accountable. Now, there are other people still that have some responsibility and accountability, but the most senior level person of an organization is the one who's completely accountable. And those are the people who tend to get great options and make a lot of money, or they get fired because something didn't go very well. Many of you have military backgrounds like I do, and you know what it's like that if you have a commanding officer and his or her job is to oversee the command, something could happen and they will be fired. Just the way it goes on a Navy ship. If the ship run aground while the skipper or the commanding officer was asleep and the people who had the watch had a problem, that CEO is the one that's going to get fired. He or she, they're accountable no matter what. That's the responsibility of taking on such an important role in an organization. Now, the CEO, and this also includes a president of a company, whether they be publicly traded or not. Some organizations don't have chief executive officer, they don't have the C-suite. They have a president and vice presidents as compared to chief executive officer, chief operating officer, chief financial officer. But the reporting is the same. The most senior level person is responsible for the strategic plan. As I mentioned, the strategic plan doesn't just happen by itself. The CEO or the president of the company needs to work with his or her direct reports to come up with what will be in the strategic plan. They may have the guidance of what needs to be accomplished and some overarching goals that they want to see, like perhaps growth 5%, maybe reduce costs by 10%. Whatever the larger goal is, the CEO or the president of the company would give that information to his or her direct reports. They would then put ideas together in their plan, and they would then share that with the CEO. Now, the CEO would be the final deciding authority with inputs of others, of course, and hopefully in collaboration and cooperation with others. But sometimes the CEO or president will have to make a choice whether the others want to support it or not. It's rare, but it's almost always the case that maybe not everyone wants exactly the same thing. Doesn't matter. They're going to work. They're going to be an employee working for somebody else. That's just the reality of it. Whether I was a frontline worker, a frontline supervisor, a manager, a department officer, didn't matter. Whatever somebody ahead of me wanted, they got. Now, maybe I had problems with it, but I had few problems, and I realigned because I understood that that's the role of an employee. If I wanted to do my own thing, I should have started my own business, like I did years later. And there's nothing wrong with that either. Some of you may want to start your own business for whatever reasons you have. Maybe you want the flexibility. Maybe you want to make more money than you can in a 9-to-5 job. That's easy to do these days. Now, the most senior leader of an organization then is responsible for creating the vision. Again, they would do that in unison with their subordinates. The subordinates of the CEO or the president would bring in information, but the CEO or the president would make the decision on what is the vision for the short and long term. Then, once that is set, the senior leader is responsible for working with his or her direct reports to ensure that the mission is updated. While the vision is really the idea of where we want to go, the mission is how we're going to get there. It's the actual steps to get there. It's the requirements. The actual strategic plan is born more out of the mission statement than it is of the vision statement. Now, some organizations have these interchangeable, or some people think that the mission and the vision are the opposite way around. It's the way I describe it. There's no one right way. I mean, if you look at the true definitions of each word, you'll see that the vision is more about where somebody wants to go, what is going to be in the future. And a mission is kind of, this is my mission, this is how I'm going to get there. These are the steps that have to happen to achieve what you want to have. Now, some people might say, well, my strategic plan is also my mission. Well, that's okay too, because a mission is measurable. And so sometimes in some organizations, you'll see these phrases used differently. Doesn't make it wrong. Just may confuse some people if they have a different school of thought on what the terms mean. Some may want to create the mission first and then create the vision statement. That's okay too. It's not a sin to do it that way. You can do it most any way that makes sense. And some people will do things differently and get the same results. And that's a good thing. But what's important to know is the senior level leader is always responsible and accountable for everything. Once that vision is put in place and then the mission, then they put in the strategic plan. I've gone over this before, so I'm not going to address it too much yet again. But the idea is that once the vision and mission and strategic plan is set and it's ready to be communicated, it's that senior level leader who must communicate it throughout the organization. And the ones who do it well do it through what I call multiple vehicles of feedback. They'll have certain types of face-to-face meetings. Some people call it town hall meetings. Some will have it where the CEO meets with everybody's the different strategic business units or the different departments, or in a large conference room or auditorium, depends on what availability they have, and bring everybody together. These days, with the advent of technology, many will also create a video of them sitting perhaps at their desk and explaining the vision and mission and strategic plan. The intent of the senior leader information sharing is so everybody gets the same word. Now, years ago in the Ritz-Carlton Hotel, now the Ritz-Carlton Hotel, as you may know, is a 5-star hotel. It's places where movie stars stay at because they can afford $500, $1,000, $1,500, $2,000 a night. I've never stayed at the Ritz-Carlton, but I certainly have gone in there from time to time and had a drink or just socialized there because it's a nice place to go and you can go in there and still use their facilities. But the Ritz-Carlton, while they've had locations all around the world, once a week, the CEO, Horst Schulze, years ago, he's no longer there, he would create a video and it would be a message from the CEO. And every week, without a doubt, he created this video and it went to every hotel. And at every hotel, every employee had to watch it. It was required for the employment. Now imagine you getting a message from your CEO every week, telling you what's going on with the organization, what's working well, where help is needed. You would feel some sense of awareness and perhaps even greater ownership, particularly when they're talking about your hotel and your work, perhaps in that scenario. But yet, the idea is the senior most leader has to keep in mind it's their job, and they usually keep it in mind. Some do better at it than others. Some may do those meetings. Some may create certain kinds of emails, announcements that go out. Some people will create videos, and they'll have these opportunities and even show up at employee indoctrination. So when a new set of employees come in, Perhaps they bring all those new employees together once a week or once a month, and the CEO or the president of the company comes in and shares his or her vision with the organization, helps them to understand their role, and communicates that it's one big team. The senior level role in strategic planning has a lot to do with the success of an organization. And you can probably figure that out because the senior level leader is responsible for all the resources, for giving money, for taking away money, for making sure people have the right tools to do their jobs, the right equipment, the right software, the right training, the right education, the right people who will inspire workers to do their best job. The senior level leader of an organization has a lot to be accountable for and responsible for. The larger the organization, the more responsibility and accountability that goes with their roles. But you can also imagine that some CEOs make $300,000, $400,000, $500,000, $700,000 a year. Some make more, like in the millions, based on stock options and things like that. So you might say they get paid for the work that they do. Some may say they get paid too much, but when you get to a certain level, you get what it's worth in regards to the job and the accountability and responsibility of the growth of a company. As you continue to go through this course and all your other courses in your program, I encourage you to think about the role of everything, whether it be ethics, whether it be HR, whether it be operations, whether it be budgeting, whether it be any specific title of any assignment that you're doing. While you may not have to address it, think of it. What's the role of the most senior level leader? And perhaps of the senior level leaders' direct reports, and maybe the department heads, and even all the way down to perhaps the newest employee who makes the least amount of money. Because when you understand the value of particularly the senior level roles and how what they do is cascaded down, you start to see and be able to manage a culture of an organization. I'm a big believer that if that CEO or president does not set a culture that's based on trust and respect all the way throughout the organization, employees will not collaborate well together. They won't cooperate with one another. They will not participate because they don't trust and respect one another. Think about your friendships. Do you have really good friends that you don't trust and respect? I mean, I know people I've trusted but not respected, and some I respected but I didn't trust. But that's not what we need in the workplace. And so a good CEO, a good president of an organization will be that person who creates that culture, much like a thermostat on the wall. Thermostat, you adjust it, you get cooler or warmer temperatures. They feel what's going on, they see what's going on in the organization, and they adjust it through the vision, the mission, and the goals. As compared to a thermometer, which just kind of sits there and reflects the temperature. So if you're thinking about what your role in a company, you may think about, should you be a thermometer or should you be a thermostat leader? I think you'll find that in some cases, we need to be both. But just so happens on my wall, I have a thermometer that is also a thermostat. It can tell me what the temperature is in my house. It reflects it for me, but it'll also change it automatically based on how I have set it. So you can think of it that way. And if you set it well, then the temperature will be always good and conducive.